Well, hello, internet friends, near and far. Welcome to another episode of Parks and Conversation, a podcast where we watch an episode and talk about an episode of Parks and Recreation. And my name is Jason, and I'm joined all the way across town by my friend Jeremy. Say hello, Jeremy.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, man, it is going so well. So well. This episode of Parks and Rec made me long for summer days as we are heading right into the coldest of winters in the Pacific Northwest. But other than that, I'm doing great.
Oh, that's good. That's good. You sound upbeat. That's good.
Oh, I'm trying. I've had a good amount of coffee already. Just trying to warm myself up. I do have a fire going in our fireplace, so I'm feeling cozy. So trying to counter the cold with the fire and then the cozy with the caffeine. So I'm, coming at all angles here.
It's good to have a plan.
Well, it's stuff I'm doing anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good.
So this episode of Parks and Rec that we're looking at is season 2, episode 20, and it's called The Summer Catalog. And it's a fun, sweet episode where Leslie is trying to create a really just whiz bang summer catalog for the Parks Department. And she sees that her idea for whiz bang falls apart pretty quickly. It turns into just like fizzle, whimper instead of whiz bang. How's that?
Yeah, that's the opposite. That's how I would have done it too.
Right. Perfect. Good. So, first impression of this episode. What were your thoughts?
Man, on rewatch, I think in my head it was better than I remember. Wait, no. That's the opposite. I think it was like I remembered it better than it was. I don't know. I didn't really laugh as much as I thought I was going to. I think really it was just the ending. I like the little twist ending. And so other than that, it was fine. So that was my main impression.
Right.
I don't like conflict where people are being mean to each other, really, because it's not funny conflict. And so I think that's what this one felt like a lot more of. And so yeah, that's just, better for worse.
Right.
What about you? What do you think?
I thought this episode was redeemed by April and Andy.
Exactly.
And they are the kindness factor of this episode went up because of them. Mm-hmm. And so they're really the best part, and their story moves along in this episode in a good way. Whereas Leslie's story does not. She just kind of is confronted again by the grossness of small government bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm.
And even her heroes are not heroes anymore.
Never meet your heroes.
Exactly. Some of these heroes are just weird. So, So it, all in all, it's a fine episode. There's some funny things that happen, but it's not a laugh a minute.
No.
So, but it starts out, I think, in a great little standalone cold open where it's a super rainy day in Pawnee, and Ron comes into the office wearing a coonskin cap, like Davy Crockett. And my understanding is if you are wearing an animal pelt hat, it actually does have a good drying function. Like it keeps you pretty dry because instead of coming through a fabric, it's coming through another creature's skin, which is harder to get through than fabric. So good move on Ron's part to keep his head dry. Weird move on the writer's part to think this is a thing people do. Right? I've never seen anybody wear a coonskin cap in real life. Have you?
I have not. But if someone were to do it, it would be Ron. And I think we're made to assume that he also fabricated the hat from a raccoon that he himself terminated.
Possibly. Another angle that you can look at this from is we know that Pawnee has a raccoon problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if Ron, in an episode that was never recorded, went to war with the raccoons. And this is the Raccoon King that he has fashioned a hat out of so that the other raccoons will respect his dominance.
Yeah, it's a warning to the rest of the raccoon nation.
Exactly. And so that is my preferred rationale for why that is happening in this episode. Tom sees the coonskin cap and he's just like, I gotta try this out. It will get people's attention. He's like several episodes when he was trying to pick up women with Mark, he was peacocking. This is a great episode of peacocking where Tom's thinking, I've got a conversation piece. We're going to make it happen. I'm going to pick up women. Fails miserably.
Mm-hmm.
And the best opportunity he had was when he's running by his lines with Donna, like pickup lines. And Donna gives him a great line. Yes, I am a hunter, and it's you season. That's a great line, Donna. And then Tom doesn't ever try that line in any of the clips that were shown. So
my favorite Tom pickup line was the garbage one.
Right.
Yeah. We've got a lot in common, and I thought that was the creepiest one. It was
I've
so
been
good.
Digging through your garbage. We got a lot in common.
Yeah, it's so great. Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Tom not working. So, yeah. So I love the contrast though. As soon as Tom gives it back and says, "Yeah, no, this is not helping me get any women. Good luck." Ron puts it on, and immediately a woman just walking by goes, "Hey, nice hat." So it's not the hat.
No.
It's the animal magnetism that is Ron as he has captured the power of the Raccoon King.
Exactly. Oh, I like it.
So
it's imbued him with raccoon prowess. He's now.
I think so.
He's now king of the garbage pandas.
Yeah. That's beautiful. You should write poetry. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Thank you.
So great little fun cold open, and then cuts to credits. After credits, we have Leslie coming into Ron's office saying, "I've got a surprise for you," and she refuses to tell him. And Ron's like, "I hate surprises," but he doesn't sing it.
You should do the entire rest of the podcast like that.
I probably won't.
Okay. All right. Good.
Probably. So Ron then tells Leslie how much he hates surprises and total Ron moves. Like, I saw my friends in the window when Tammy tried to throw a surprise party for me, and I called the police. So yeah, that sounds about Ronish. And Leslie doesn't care. She's like, "I'm still doing this. Meet me at this park and join us for a surprise." She's not gonna tell anybody except the camera crew. She tells them right away, and I don't know why. Like, they're all gonna see it anyway, so it's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect their life, these surprises, but whatevs. And so she's saying she's gonna have a interview with all the living former parks directors as a way to kick off the summer catalog. And just thinking about that idea sounds awful. It just sounds terrible.
But I think it's like her version of getting all of the living presidents together, right? Like, it's on her scale.
Right.
So you already know the kind of politician that she's going to be if she ever gets to the White House. Like, we're doing this thing.
It's happening. All the presidents hanging out.
Jimmy Carter's over building a gazebo or something, and I don't know.
I'm still amazed Jimmy Carter is still alive.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's resilient.
He's very resilient. He's very, kind, and does a lot of good work for a lot of people. And his body keeps trying to kill him with different things, and he's like, "No, I'm from Georgia. I got a peanut farm to run, and I've got these houses to build. So
he's good.
Forget you, body." And yeah. So anyway, no reason to really be upset about Jimmy Carter. I just am surprised he's still alive. I'm not upset. I'm surprised.
Okay, that's good.
So then it cuts to Leslie and the team putting together the catalog in the office, and they're like storyboarding the whole thing, and they're really like working out the layout, all the different ins and outs, and talking about ads and looking for a cover. And one thing that like Tom makes a remark, and he's like, "Am I right, Justin?" And forgot Justin and Leslie broke up 6 weeks ago. So you see Tom is still being Tom. But Jerry took a picture of the cover, and it's a guy like about to throw a pitch in the softball game, and he's staring right at the camera. And not a great picture anyway. The guy in the foreground is blurry. But they then say, "Hey, isn't that the pedophile?"
Jerry.
It's like, I didn't know. Oh man, he asked me to go to dinner with him.
Yeah.
So now he's associated and hanging out with the pedophile. So Leslie has to make a clear directive. I want no sex offenders in the summer catalog, which probably something she didn't think she had to say, but
Right. Yeah.
it had to be specified. And then Tom gives his opportunity to talk about the catalog, and he tries to do like a Mad Men-esque pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's terrible. The photos are awful. One is it looks like John Ralphio running, and it's like super blurry. The other one is a kid in a winter barren landscape, and it's just not good. And Leslie even points out, well, this won't work partly because that's a winter photo and this is a summer catalog. Also, that child looks abandoned. So, yeah. And one of the things I loved about this meeting too is as you're watching it, even Jerry looks like these are dumb.
Right. I just love the abandoned kid one too, because it's a real picture that somebody took and said, "Hey, go stand over there. I want to take a picture of this barren landscape. I want to use you for scale, like the actual real life picture."
Right. Yeah,
it's perfect. I also like the part here where right before Tom had said, "Am I right, Justin?" They were talking about the centerfold for the ad that was going to be Yearning by Dennis Feinstein. So we get another, once again, Feinstein's in this. We have yet to meet him. So I just, they're planting this. Not that they even know that they're who it's going to be probably at this point, but still.
Yeah, he's just like the local Pawnee perfumer. So yeah, we're getting an indication of Feinsteinness. We're learning more about his the kinds of perfumes and colognes he makes, the way he advertises them. So yeah, just not great. It's yeah. Am I right, Justin? So then Tom's like, well, what do you want from me? Just a picture of the parents pushing the kids on a swing? And it's like, yeah, that's actually all I want. That's it. That's the perfect picture for a summer catalog. And
not before he brings up a picture of himself.
Right. Yeah. And he's holding a tiny little espresso mug and looking off camera. He's like, oh, how'd this get in here? But it's actually, it's perfect. So,
what are you thinking?
Everybody leaves, and then he looks at the photo and says that, what are you thinking? And April's response is, why is my cup so small?
April.
Yeah. So she's always there for a great response. So the meeting's over. Tom has his directive, get a photo. And then it cuts to Anne in the hospital, and Mark is visiting her to give her their 6-month anniversary gift, which is all bad ideas. Like everything about what they're doing is wrong. Like meeting in a patient's room to exchange a gift. And he's like, I don't think you don't feel bad. You didn't know I was going to do this. But she also had a gift ready to give to him.
Yeah.
In a patient's room. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
My notes for the scene were Anne and Mark, and that was it.
My notes were Anne jokes about a dead patient. All bad.
All bad.
Just all bad. The whole scene is awful. So they like exchange gifts, they kiss, and he's like, oh, are we supposed to kiss in a patient's room? And she's like, oh no, he's dead. I'm like, what? This is a terrible thing to joke about, Anne. So I'm not pleased with that part of the scene. Like it didn't need to happen at all, except it is building the tension in their relationship a little bit more. It's 6 months. They're giving us markers for where they're at. And things are getting serious. And so after that little weird interchange, it cuts to the parking lot where April and Andy are getting ready to load up and go on this adventure with the parks directors. They have a picnic. They're throwing food and talking about how April has a really good arm. She's like, I played high school softball. And he played baseball in high school, which is the boy version of softball, which I love the way that he said that. And Yeah, so they're getting ready. Leslie's like, don't play with the food. And Anne or April threw the salmon on the roof, all that normal April stuff. Then it cuts to the office and Mark or Anne comes in to see Tom, who said that she got an emergency message from Leslie on Tom's phone. And then Mark comes in and this is where Tom gives the idea like, hey, why don't you guys have some photos together for the summer catalog? It'd be great. And Anne is not for it. Mark is for it. More tension. So they are roped into this with Tom. Now, your wife worked nights as a nurse. My wife worked nights as a nurse. Anne is saying like she just came off a really long shift. I'm assuming it's a night shift because it's daytime. Is there any universe where a nurse would agree to do this after a long night shift?
Well, I mean, depending upon like if you like in the multiverse, yes, but in real life, no, not in a million years.
Yeah. So there's some definite writing problems with Anne's character at this point in this episode. Where I'm just like, these people did not ask any nurses about any of this.
And later on, I feel like this kind of comes back to like it doesn't make a ton of sense, like this whole storyline, but I get what they're trying to do. So yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there. But it's just she's right. You know, she's coming off a 12-hour shift and she's not, you know, super stoked. But somehow Mark reads into it. Like there's a look, you know, later on. So
yeah. Well, Mark's rationale is we don't have any photos of us together.
Yeah.
So this is a great opportunity for us to get photos together, which this is Tom that's taking these photos. Like, why would you think this is a good idea, Mark? So, so then Leslie is in the car with April and Andy, and she's making this whole thing a really big deal. And I feel bad because I know how this ends. She's going to be disappointed. And it's really not cool. And as they get out into the car, out of the car, she looks at April and Andy, and they have swapped sweaters, thinking that like maybe she wouldn't notice. But
I told you she'd notice.
April is much smaller than Andy, so she noticed. And then the other park directors start showing up, and so we meet David, Clarence, Michael, and Ron.
I love their like attitude, like when they're just goofing around, and it comes out so much more later in the series. But just April and Andy, they just want to have fun. Like that's just all. Even April, when she's kind of bummed out and stuff, I think she's just bored, you know. And Andy's like fun, and so I think that's a big part of their attraction and ultimately to each other. But yeah, I just like sweater swap. Like why? Like why? It's so great.
Right. It's just a weird thing to do. And they're like, all right. And April later we'll find she's not as annoyed by Andy as she is by everybody else, which is like a great foundation for a relationship.
Exactly.
And so somehow they make it work. So, so as the park directors start showing up, they all hate each other. And that is obvious real soon. And so the order from reverse order of their tenure, we have Ron, then Michael, then David, then Clarence. And Clarence is a super old man. And he's got some interesting ideas. So they all hate each other, but they start walking to the picnic spot. And Ron is complaining about everything. He's like, when are we going to eat? And Leslie says, I made you some bacon as a trail snack. And I love Ron. He's like, I already ate it. I smelled it before I pulled into the parking lot. It's gone. Everything's terrible. And he runs off like a child, like just a petulant child running away. Like, rah! So I love it. All the food is gone and I hate everything. So it's already not going well. And Ron is the one that Leslie knows the best.
Right.
Like, so it's like, this should be a warning to her. Like, this is not going great. And then so it cuts to Tom and Mark, and Tom is a terrible photographer. That's all I wrote about that. Kept saying, keep slithering at one point. So telling Anne, you got to do something with your face. Make your face better.
And are you even trying?
Yeah, so it's all bad. He's just not a good photographer. His techniques are terrible. And Anne is tired and, shouldn't be there. So, so it cuts back to the park, and Leslie starts interviewing the different directors about their time in office, and starts with Clarence. And he's like, "Can you describe the first summer catalog?" And he's like, "Yeah, I taught home ec. Women weren't allowed to teach." And she's like, "Oh, I thought women were teachers by then." He said, "Not in my department." So he's already, we're seeing like he is old school. Women should not be teaching, and we will even see later, like if you're menstruating, you're going to attract bears. Like there's all kinds of things that he thinks are bad about women in any kind of leadership role.
I love how, like, right as he finishes that statement, she just kind of turns off her recorder. Like, nope, right. That's enough. That's enough from you.
Yeah, I don't need any more of this. So, and then it cuts to, she tells April and Andy to go ahead and set up because they're all taking longer than they thought. So while they're setting up, he's like, "I'm thinking about writing about a song about a picnic." And April's like, "Where'd you come up with that idea?" So I was like, "I'm setting up the picnic right now."
Right
he's
here.
Just completely earnest in all things. So then she's like, life is a picnic. And she's like, "Oh no, what about life as a picnic with you?" And it's becoming a love song. And then he invites her to write lyrics with him, and they plan to go to a bar. It's all good. This is exactly what April is hoping in this relationship.
He's like, it could be about a girl or Peyton Manning.
Right.
Life is a picnic with you, Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Which knowing Peyton Man, like not personally, but knowing Peyton Manning's like roles later, like in SNL and the commercials he does, is like he would probably be okay with that and would probably appear in the music video.
Yeah, but the picnic would have to have Papa John's pizza.
Now, yeah.
So yeah, it would just have to be that way. So I do like how Andy's loves are consistent,
mm-hmm.
and the Colts will always have a place in Andy's heart. So, yeah. So after that interaction, Leslie starts talking to David about his time in the parks department, and he's like, "Well, I hate the work. I hate the parks. Clarence was old, so I pushed him out and took his job." And then as he's saying all this, he's littering in the park. He's like, "Who cares about all this stuff?" And this is an affront to Leslie. The parks are the best. And so she's seeing here's a guy who doesn't care about the job of caring for the parks. He just wanted the job of getting money. So, yeah. So then it cuts back to more photos with Tom, and it's not going well. And he says, "Anne, your face is like if somebody wanted to make an ad for the dangers of eating undercooked chicken." So it was like, that's a pretty great burn. Yeah. And he's like, "How could somebody so hot be so bad at being hot?"
Right.
And so, yeah, it's all good. I mean, it's not going well for Tom, but it's funny on our end. And then
the Maxim, she's like, is a Maxim or a Good Housekeeping? She's like, I don't even know which one is the insult.
Right. So yeah, photo shoot not going well. Back to the park. They're getting close to where they're going to eat and stuff. And Leslie's talking heads like, "This is not going well." In the background, you have David standing there, and he just turns around and says, "I whizzed on a butterfly." So things are just not good at all for this whole project that Leslie's put out. And then they're at the table and finally sitting down to eat. And you can see Ron is eating with great gusto. And Michael's like, "Leslie, I think you've done a great job with the parks." And this is where Ron is like, "Michael, are you still on parole?" So, talks about how he smoked pot in the office, smoked pot in all the parks. And then he gets on to like, why is marijuana illegal? Alcohol's legal. And so they are just arguing and bickering all the time. While over to the side, April and Andy are actually having a nice, sweet picnic, which is cool. It's great. So we have this conflict, this contrast between the park directors fighting and bickering, and April and Andy kind of building a relationship That's nice and sweet. So the one note here in this conflict is Michael saying, I planted pot in all the parks, which calls back to when episode 2 of this season, when Andy's living in the pit and they planted a community garden down there and they thought there was pot. And it was turned out to be carrot tops, but could have been pot because Michael has been planting pot in all the parks.
I still remain firm that it was pot, and that because it was gone at the end of the whole thing of that episode.
Michael came back and harvested it.
I think he did. I think he knew the heat was on and had to get rid of the evidence.
That's a strong possibility.
I don't know.
Now, is this Michael? I did not look up IMDb before this.
Mm-hmm.
He has very strong vibes of the dad from Family Ties. Is it the same guy?
Well, I know he was in Tremors, but yes. I think he was Family Ties guy too.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up. I just searched season 2.
That was Kirk Cameron, right?
No, that's Growing Pains.
You're Growing Pains.
That's not. I don't even know how to process what you just said.
Yeah, Family Ties with.
It is the same guy, right?
It is the same guy, and he was also in Tremors 3 and 4.
Tremors 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, no, Tremors and 3 and 4.
So he wasn't in Tremors 2.
I don't know, but he was in 5 as well.
Man, this guy really is committed to the Tremors universe
franchise,
the Tremorverse.
Oh, he wasn't. He was in Tremors 2 Aftershocks.
Why can I not find him? Oh, because I have the whole season. That's too many people. I'm just looking for one episode, dude. IMDb. Why is it all jacked up? Forget it. I'm moving on.
Oh, looks like he was in Night Court. Look at that.
Wow, coming back around
all the way.
So, yeah. So, Family Ties dad. Alex P. Keaton's dad seemed like a pretty solid person, but turns out he's just a total hippie, which makes sense when you look at Alex P. Keaton's strong conservative bent as a rejection of his father's ethos. So it's all coming around.
Same universe. Yeah.
Same. So Leslie has enough and just everybody go take a picture. And it's terrible. And so none of them look happy. And he takes the photo and he's like, all right, now a fun one.
Could get a funny face one.
And so cuts back to the office and April's, they're looking at the photo. I was like, this is terrible. And April's like, I tried to Photoshop it, but their mouths are so old. And then she makes another one of them, which is not pleasant. It's
highly inappropriate.
Yeah, very very erotic and not cool at all. And so and she's like, they're being so generous to each other. So
at the same time, it's so great because I'm sure the writer's like, what would April do if she knew how to use Photoshop? And
right.
That's the correct answer.
Yes, it is. Great contrast here in the writing is as they're showing those photos, Tom is showing the photos for the cover with Mark and Anne, and they're all bad. And Anne looks miserable, which I wrote in my notes, foreshadowing. She doesn't want to be in this photo shoot. She doesn't want to be in this relationship. Dun, dun, dun. So then cuts to Ron in his office, and Leslie comes in and gives him a piece of paper, and it was a blank piece of paper. She's like, this is my article so far for the catalog, and it's a blank piece of paper. And he's like, did you print this? I heard the printer running. It's like, yeah. So that Ron then offers to buy Leslie dinner, and April and Andy are going to go write their song at the bar. April gets carded, and she's 20. She thinks her confidence can win her way into the bar. So this is a indication where Andy is like, I don't know if this is a good idea, because he's 29. We'll find that out the next episode, I think. He's 29. April's 20. And so the age difference is starting to be a concern. So kind of thwarted April and her plans and her hopes with Andy at the moment. But Ron and Leslie go to the restaurant, and Ron is talking about the dynamics, and he's just a realist. Like, these people all have jobs and they didn't care about the jobs. But Leslie believes she is the chosen one.
Yeah.
So,
or something like that.
or something like that. Yeah. So she's like super idealistic, and none of her expectations come about. And so she's frustrated. And so Ron's just trying to like temper her expectations. And then he's like, they all hated each other. And Leslie's like, well, are we going to hate each other? And Ron responds, no. Which, again, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
For some future tension. And Leslie's like, maybe I just need to move to Eagleton. And Ron says, no, when I'm the city manager, I'll give you the job. No problem.
A lot of people don't know this, but if there's already been foreshadowing in an episode and there's a different plot line and that has it as well, that becomes 5 shadowing.
Oh, is that how it works?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I feel like we're now on like 7 shadowing in this one episode.
Yeah. I lost count. There's a lot of shadows.
They're sending a lot of shadows in a lot of different directions. We have like 8 suns.
Yeah.
So that's probably going to be too hot. Like Tatooine had 2 suns and it was a total desert. So 8 suns. I mean, what are we going to do?
It's just glass.
Well, it's funny you say that. I read an article this week that NASA believes they have found a planet that rains like rocks.
Oh, that's unpleasant.
Yeah. My next question was, how do they know any of that? These planets are real far away. Mm-hmm. So, like, I don't even know when it's going to rain next here, really. But NASA believes they know that another planet rains rocks. So, that's what happens when you 8 shadow.
Too many rocks.
Too many rocks. So Ron's got this whole plan. He becomes city manager. Leslie can have his job. His next plan right after he becomes city manager, of course, is to cut the parks department. So it seems like he's being really nice. Like, nah, not really. And then Leslie's like, maybe I'll just leapfrog right over Ron and go for that city manager job. And I'll totally expand the parks department. So these two are great contrasts. The food comes, and one of my favorite lines in the whole show. Why would anyone eat anything other than breakfast food? Because people are idiots. So we had breakfast for dinner last night. And while I was eating this delicious meal that I made, I've thought, why would people eat anything other than this?
What did you go with?
People are idiots. Well, I just made cereal, bacon and eggs and tortillas. Tortillas of breakfast are pancakes. So, breakfast, eggs, and pancakes. Breakfast, eggs, bacon, eggs, and pancakes. But I bake the bacon because I put it on a cookie sheet, put it in the oven cold, and bake it at 405 for 22 minutes, and it's delicious. So, that's
now we have the secret recipe.
Well, it's not a secret recipe. You can go, if you search Bacon Method, it's a website that I found that on. baconmethod.com, I think, or .co, something like that. It's a great way to make bacon. And it's easy to clean up.
Get in touch with us, baconmethod.com, if you're interested in an affiliate partnership.
Yeah, or either way, I'm still going to make bacon this way. So low stakes. I won't make steak that way.
Bacon, I was going to say bacon is kind of the low steak of a pig. Like it's low, it's very thin.
The low steak of a pig. That's just real sad. That's disturbing what you said.
Thank you.
I need to keep moving. So they eat breakfast next day, or eventually. It seems like everything happens real fast in Pawnee. But I mean, I know they needed to print these catalogs, so it probably wasn't the next day. But the catalogs came in, and everybody's looking at it. And Andy and April are on the cover. It's just a selfie that they took enjoying their picnic in the park. And it's a perfect cover. And both April and Andy are at the end of the episode, like looking at this picture of themselves. And they both look like, this is good. I like this picture. And so
I also think
nine shadowing.
Yeah, right. Well, it was just great because they as they were passing them out, we didn't get to see the cover, and we got to see everyone's reaction to seeing the cover before we got to see it. And so April like looked at it and looked at Leslie like, "What did you do? But then also she smiles. And then
Right.
Andy's looking at it, reflecting because their last encounter was really awkward. And you kind of be like, see ya. But then he sees them. It's like he's envisioning them like, well, I mean, maybe it could work. So I like, that was that. And I think that right there for me was, it wasn't just the cover that was sweet, but also what it meant to their kind of relationship. I feel like it almost kind of brought them back together in a very unsaid way. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. It sets up some more. Yeah, their story is progressing in a nice way, and their relationship will not be without bumps and bruises along the way. But it was nice. Like, things are looking good for Andy and April. The credit scene is in the office. Ron and Leslie, they're throwing darts and talking about Michael and his bong making skills, which are impressive, I guess. I don't know anything about bongs. So, but he made water pipes out of garden hoses, smoking, and a raccoon.
And a raccoon, sorry.
Yeah, so,
raccoons are getting used, at least in Pawnee, for hats and bongs and all sorts of things. So it's not, Pawnee uses the whole part of the raccoon.
Yeah, they are a menace, but they are a useful menace.
Mm-hmm.
Much like Dennis, the menace.
Yeah, Dennis, the menace.
Yeah, so, and when it cuts away to see what they're throwing the darts at, it's the photo that April took of the guys. And one goes right in the junk, one goes right in the neck. So, so it's an interesting end to the day, or this adventure. Catalog got published. April and Andy seem to be on a path towards a meaningful relationship, and Ron and Leslie are coming to an understanding about the realities of bureaucracy in a government institution.
Yeah, so, just like and like how they like I think throwing the darts was a very cathartic thing for Leslie. Like, she had this whole thing built up in her head that it was going to be amazing, and then it fell short because people are the worst. And now she gets to kind of actively just, it's very. I think it was really good for Leslie to do that.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
So hopefully she makes it. We'll see. Only time will tell.
I think she'll be all right.
Yeah,
she's going places. So we also are get an indication of Eagleton a little bit more, and the idea of Eagleton being reprehensible to Leslie, and we'll see why in the future. So all in all, not the best episode, but it's not the worst. And
so
we are
like plot lines move forward.
Yeah, we're getting closer to having a reason to not have Mark on the show anymore.
Amen.
So I'm ready for that. I'm ready to have better people. So we lose one Mark and we gain two great characters. So it's like the best trade in television history, I think.
Yeah. We didn't have to give up any first round draft picks or anything.
No. I mean, he was probably on the IR anyway. This is what it was. He's Earl Thomas.
The acting IR.
He's Earl Thomas at the end of that season. When he got he's like, they need to pay me more, and they're like, we're not going to pay you more because you're easily injured. And he ends the season breaking his leg, and the Seahawks are like, guess we dodged a bullet on that one, Earl Thomas. So Mark is like Earl Thomas, except I don't know if Mark's any good at football.
I don't know.
Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, what's the next episode?
The next episode is 94 meetings, which is fantastic.
Awesome. I'm excited for that. I like that one.
This one is great. We learn about the meat tornado. So wait, is that one? No. That's later.
Yeah, that was at the fair. That was at the fair.
No, the meat tornado is in season 3.
Oh, is that the strip mall?
No, that's the spinning cone of meat. I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna get the whole thing. It's season 3, episode 2 is the meat tornado. Sorry, I was getting ahead of myself. So this episode was rated 8.0.
Oh, wow.
Next episode, 8.6.
I can get on board with that.
So, yeah, me too.
All right.
We learn more about the Sweetums family next week. We learn more about Jessica, who is the beauty pageant judge with Leslie from Miss Pawnee. We learn more about Tom. Yeah, there's a lot that happens in the 94 meetings. So
I'm excited.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to go. I just realized I still haven't seen Tremors 5 Bloodlines yet. So I'm going to go watch that.
Okay.
And
that's a good plan.
And yeah, probably check in with you next week about
sounds great.
Parks and Recreation.
Okay. I'll be here. I'll just be here waiting.
Okay.
Till then.
Well, so have fun with that. And we'll talk later.
I guess so.
Okay.
Right, bye.
Bye.